to say three things. More education equals more money equals more freedom. More education equals more money equals more freedom. More education equals more money equals more freedom. And that's not necessarily physical freedom. That's more so freedom of choice. My name is James Montero, and I'm somebody who dropped out of school in the 8th grade. As a result of that decision, I ended up spending the next 20 years of my life incarcerated up and down the East Coast. The first time I was incarcerated, the very first, I was done. But the truth of the matter is, upon release, I had little to nothing to stand on. I always ended up trying to compensate my income, and I always ended up right back in prison. The last time I was incarcerated, I decided enough was enough. My concern went from more so, how am I going to be able to get out of here, to more so, how am I going to be able to stay out of here? And I made the decision right then and there to not go to the weight pit anymore, and I was more concerned with staying in the education unit all day. I went back to school, I got my GED, I got my associate's degree, and then I sat in this prison cell for another 2.5, 3 years waiting to be released because there was nothing else for me to do to prepare further. I was released on December 10th, 2009. I tried to get a job in the field that I had gone to school for. I went to Network Rhode Island, which is the employment place, and they told me everything I was looking for that would pay a livable wage, it required me to have a bachelor's degree and above. And I was fortunate, I'll be honest with you. I was fortunate because I was able to get back into school. But prior to that, I had to do what I had to do, so I did what people would normally do. I took the first job that I can get. The job paid me $5 an hour. The employer was exploiting me, and the truth of the matter is, at that time, I couldn't afford not to be exploited, so I took the job. I met my childhood friend who was formerly incarcerated. He had went back to school. He got his education. He worked at the Community College of Rhode Island, and he helped me to get back into school. He mentored me, and I ended up finishing with my bachelor's degree from Community Development at Roger Williams University School of Continuing Studies with honors, and I haven't had to look back since. I'm able to take care of myself right now. I take care of my family. I take care of my mother, and I have enough back to give to my community. Enough left over to give back to my community. I have what I like to call true freedom. Today I have choices. The problem in this country, and it's not so much as a problem, it's the way we're moving, and partly because of the tech industry. Manufacturing jobs are leaving at an alarming rate. They're disappearing. And by 2020, 65% of all jobs in this country will require a post-secondary education or some type of certification training. So what happens is, this is a problem because the way the prison educational system is set up, most of the people that are in there will not finish the education that they start behind prison walls. It takes approximately 10 years to get an associate's degree behind prison walls, and it takes approximately about 20 years to get a bachelor's degree. And you can see by the graph, people will get, this is where the associate's degree level is, but when you go from 72%, 28% to 2% and 9%, this is a problem. And then upon release, nobody knows what's happening to these individuals because nobody's tracking this data. 67% of the individuals incarcerated reported that they would have liked to finish their education upon release. Only 27% were actually able to. This is not a lack of desire to be responsible, productive members of society. This is more so lack in a pathway towards being able to. So what we did is we created the ReEntry campus, and it's pretty simple. What we do is we partner with college programs behind the walls. We give their individuals an additional 30 credits towards their bachelor's degree, free of charge. We help them with transitional planning, which is housing, substance abuse, and employment services. And the big one, which was big for me, is when they release, they enter in a cohort of formerly incarcerated people, which my friends served for me, that helped them as far as being a network and a peer support group for them to continue on with their education. So far to date, we've run a pilot program since July of 2017. 40 individuals have registered. We've run 2 semesters. Of those 40 individuals, 77% have continued on with their education post-release outside of prison. 61% have achieved gainful employment, and that's because some of them are still collecting Social Security SSI benefits, but they're working on getting off SSI benefits, and 0% have recidivated. It costs the state of Rhode Island $2.8 million to incarcerate these individuals. It costs us like $50,000 to $80,000 to provide education for them. And it ends up generating at least $300,000 to the educational institutions that we partner with. Our team is made up of former Rhode Island Parole Board member Lisa Holly, second in charge of the Providence Police Force, Commander Verdi, Stephanie Cruz, she's from Triage Programs. We have a really good, solid team, good oversight for the program. And we have good partners with John Legend. He gave us our seed funding, the Unlock Futures campaign, and Just Leadership USA, Echo and Green, and Social Enterprise Greenhouse will allow us to scale outwards. A realtor gave us a building, and what we're doing is making this as a home for individuals when they come home to continue their education. The upstairs will provide housing. The downstairs is going to provide educational programs, and the basement will provide certification training programs. We're in there rehabbing the building now. And what I like to say, what we need is we need somebody to take big risk on us for big rewards. That would be a beautiful thing. It's one thing to be locked up in prison. It's easy, I'll be honest with you. It would be easy for me to go back to jail. I know it that well. The hardest thing is to be locked out of society with little to no opportunities or choices to be able to participate in it. This is harder than being locked up in prison. And my name is James Montero. I'm someone who believes wholeheartedly in the ability of education to change and transform lives. Thank you for your time.